Hey, this is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres in Marion, Michigan. This is the Anyone Can Farm Experience live chat. Normally on Thursday nights, we do an interview with people who are in farming or something that's of interest to what we do as homesteaders. And the guy we had lined up tonight, we were going to be talking about biochar. He's a big biochar maker down there in Texas. But evidently there was a problem. We sent a confirmation to him today, but he didn't get the email and figured it wasn't happening. So I don't know. Jill called him and he was at Lowe's. So we're going to reschedule him another time because I think it'd be really interesting. I read the guy's bio and he's really into biochar. And so I am too, but I've kind of reached a level and that's kind of where I sit. And I want to know more about biochar because I use it a lot. We make a lot of it and we sell a lot of it. But when people ask me questions about it, sometimes I don't really know. You know, I've read the books, but it seems like all the books that I've read were written by guys that were kind of wannabes. You know, they kind of heard from a person who heard, you know, and they were, and now that I look back on it, they had that kind of that permaculture bent, you know, to it. And so I would like to talk to other people and see what they have to say about biochar. Tonight's show is brought to you by the Anyone Can Farm Tribe Plus, and Tribe is hosting. Yeah, Emily, I've read that, but I don't know. I don't know about that guy. I just don't. I mean, I don't know. You know. Okay, so Tribe is hosting a seed swap this Saturday here at Baker's Green Acres. And this is an opportunity for people to kind of crawl out of the dungeon of winter and come out and mix it up with some of the other folks. If you have some seeds or some seedlings to share, bring them. If you don't, maybe bring a dish to pass. We're going to eat together. Every time we get together, we have a good time. I don't think one time we haven't had fun. You know, we always have fun. So I've been kind of scrambling around today, getting things the way they are going to be by Tribe Day. You know, Tribe Day is going to be the big kahuna. But Seed Savers, it's not going to be a very nice day Saturday. It's not going to be like we're going to have a beautiful day. It's actually supposed to, well, it is all the time. So let me check and see what it is. But last I checked, it's like 40% chance of rain, and it's going to be about 45 degrees. So it's not going to be the greatest day. 40% chance of rain, 47 degrees. All right, we're climbing up there. We're climbing. Friday, 56 degrees. Today it was 62. Today was actually quite a nice day. We had rain right at lunchtime, downpour, and a lot of wind. And then about 4 o'clock, it cleared. The wind stopped. No cast again. You know, but we had sun there for a while, and the grass was looking nice and green and all that stuff. It's right around the corner. Let's see, next week, Saturday is going to be 47 is the high, and it won't be until the end of the week where we start getting into the 50s. Going to have a little bit of sun midweek, at least according to this, but it changes, you know, so you never know. Saturday might turn out to be a great day. So Tribe Plus is, if you want to find more out about that, you can go to Anyone Can Farm, the Anyone Can Farm Experience, Tribe Plus. Anyone Can Farm Experience.com and look for Tribe Plus. It's what they call a paywall. So you invest 49 cents a day, I guess, something like that, or 48 cents. Sign up is real cheap. You can sign up and try it out for a short period of time, real cheap, for like 99 cents. But the idea is to get this going so people are subscribed, are investing in the tribe, investing in the experience. The experience is where we document the things that we do, whether it is the entire process of processing or just how to build a rail, how to sharpen a knife. And these are kind of videos that we put some time into. And the nice thing about that is they can be watched over and over and over. Like I did a fence building course with Joe last summer. We finished it up. Now I don't have to do it again. I can just say, no, go watch that. I don't, I don't really have time to show everybody that shows up how to build corner posts. It can't be done. It can't be done. So we create these courses and then park them right there. You join the Tribe Plus, and you get access to all that stuff. And as soon as it starts rolling, then we can actually pay Joe to do this on an ongoing basis. Me too. I mean, I'd kind of like to get a little bit of pay out of the deal, but that's the idea. It's so it pays for itself. So you're doing us a favor, but you're also investing in a program that's doing us all as a group a solid. All boats will float higher. And I realize some people can't do the 49 cents a day. Hey, if you can't do it, don't do it. But some people can, and we'd really appreciate it because we think this is a good thing to do. And we want to push in on this as hard as we can. My son has a family to feed, though. So he can't do this if he's got to be out shooting weddings and real estate shooting and stuff like this. The guy's a welder by trade, but he decided to change career fields, and he wants to work more with the farm and more homesteading type things, more like grid type things. He is what they call a nomad, and they've parked it for a little while temporarily, and they're living in a yurt. So they don't have a bathroom. They have a hand pump well, and they use a bucket and then compost all their manure, and they've got a raised garden beds. They've got chickens. They've got sheep. Joe's fully capable of butchering anything that there is because he worked here with us for the best part of his life. So tonight's show is sponsored by the Anyone Can Farm Tribe Plus. All right. Speaking of the tribe, you know how things kind of grow exponentially? Well, that is what is happening with the tribe right now. On Facebook, you have this little thing that tells you you've got messages, and when I look at those, I kind of shudder because there's like 50 people that are waiting to get in the tribe, and all it is a push of a button. But what we're supposed to do is supposed to read a little bit about them and find out, if it's somebody that's from PETA, it probably wouldn't be a good fit. But I think at this point, if people see our videos, if they're interested in what we're doing, then they join and they're productive members. If they just, throw stones at us because we eat meat and we butcher animals and stuff like that, my wife leaves those comments a little while and then she just ditches them because those people are not going to come back, and they're not really our people. There won't be any of them here this Saturday. There wouldn't. We just, if they were and they started giving us a hard time, I would have them by the scruff of the neck and escort them off my property. Okay. So, because the show is not going to be an interview, we have to do something else. So Jill says Mark can wing it. And I've been thinking, we're going to schedule this guy again. So I was thinking about just broaching the subject with you all about biochar. Just talk about it a little bit. Maybe talk a little bit about how we make biochar, and then maybe have a little bit of a discussion. So our topic will be biochar for the night, but it's going to be kind of loose because I really want to interview this guy and hear what he has to say about it as well. Along the lines of the tribe is growing. I think there's 3,000 people in the tribe right now. But I know we've been letting a lot of people in recently. And I wasn't sure if that was just, Joe will make a really cool video and a lot of people will see it. It'll go crazy on Instagram and all that stuff. Literally, some of his videos have gotten 1 million views. Literally. I'm not kidding. And it's about time because he does outstanding work. It seemed as though they were kind of throttled before, but I don't know. It's broken loose because a couple of those videos have, the longer videos have 200,000 views. Can you imagine that? 200,000 people have seen a video that I'm in talking about farming stuff. It's just mind-boggling, really. And I think what is hitting it for people is we're meeting them with Jill's saying for anyone in the Tribe Plus, there's a video course on plans to build a double barrel retort. It's actually called a 50-30 retort. Pretty straightforward how to build. Biochar is tremendous. But I think what we are doing that's different is we are actually doing these things. And I think that the group of people that's coming into homesteading now, maybe because of the jobs that they have, the professions that they are in, maybe they can see over the cliff better than we can. I mean, I can't really see over the cliff. I've been to other countries, and what startles me is in the United States, people think about food as an afterthought, and that startles me having been to other countries, and they don't think they're poor. They don't think they're poor. Like when we go there, we say, oh, wow, these people are poor. Like in the Philippine Islands, they literally live in huts that are made out of palm leaves. They weave them together. It's called nipa huts. And but the kids are all smiling. And when you go through, the people are working. You don't see homeless people. You don't, there's a lot of gross things that you'll see here in a city that you would never see in a very modest village in the Philippines, So I don't think they consider themselves as poor, but they do have to work individually much harder to sustain themselves than we do here. Okay, we've got big farms, and one man is on a 500 horsepower tractor, and he's doing the work of how many people? Yeah, he's burning a lot of diesel fuel, and it costs a lot of money to get that equipment. Can you really afford that equipment? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not here to throw stones at those guys. Not tonight. But you kind of wonder, because if it was so profitable, how come it's not so profitable? I don't know. So in the States, we just think food is always going to be there. And I got a gut feeling about this, Obviously, there's a struggle going on in the United States right now, and there's a lot of very strange things that are happening. And I would reckon that if you were in, let's say, Vietnam as a resident there, you know, it was your country, and there's a war going on between the North and the South, and then the South is being propped up by the United States, the North is being propped up by the Soviet Union and many other countries, you know, supplied with bombs and bullets and aircraft personnel. Um, and of course, we were doing all that stuff with us in the South. I would think if you were a resident there, you would a lot of times not really know what's going on. All you know is things are really screwed up, you know. And I think that's what we're seeing here. And it has an effect on people. And then people, you know, have quick tempers and do things that are very out of character. We see it all the time now, all the time. The reason I bring that up is because a weak spot that could be exploited is food. And it seems to me that food has been centralized for many, 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 many years. You have a few people growing all the food. All right. And that's not good. That's not good. So I can't exactly see over the cliff, but when I get a whole bunch of 30-something-year-old people come and saying we need to learn how to butcher animals and process food and preserve food and grow food and all of the infrastructure things that need to be known in order to farm, like building fences, water distribution, placement, flow, all those things, stocking rate, grass, haymaking. There's so much to know. There's a lot of things to know. And little mistakes can cost you big. So I believe that I believe that this is what I am here to do at this time. This is really what my mission is to pass this information on to as many people as possible. And it just, you know, I'm feeling that way. But then I have this whole big crowd coming the other way saying, where are you? Oh, there you are. They're looking for me already. So this is a grand setup here. But then the forces of evil are saying, no, you guys can't farm. You guys can't farm. We don't even want you raising chickens this year. We just get the stuff from the store, you know, do that. We don't want you peasants farming, you know, move into the cities where you be safe. So there's this struggle going on. And I call them the forces of evil because I've dealt with them. They are evil. I say that, you know, a man that works for one of those organizations and says, well, I'm just doing my job. He knows it's not right. He knows it ain't right, but he's just doing it anyway because, well, I got my family to feed. I have no mercy for that individual. Zero. Because them just doing their job is not good, and it's going to hurt people. It already has hurt people. They make it sound like, oh, we're here for food safety. Yeah, right. Okay, so no need to go down that road too far. But this large group of people that's wanting to learn how to farm is startling right now. And I think that the tribe and Tribe Plus is having an impact. I do believe it's having an impact. All right, so Joe's working one man deep, and he's doing it on pretty much a voluntary basis. Me and Jill are tightening him up for the day that he comes and works with us, but then he puts in lots and lots of hours on those videos. And he's thinking it's delayed gratification, that sooner or later people will come into the tribe and invest in Tribe Plus, invest in themselves, invest in the program, and that he will be able to be paid full time. We would even like to give him a helper, an editing helper. So if it works, it works. But I am going to keep harping on that with you guys. please do us a solid and join up in the Tribe Plus and share it with your friends. Yeah, and we need thumbs up tonight too. All right, so what is biochar? Let's see if I covered everything. Oh, this weekend, this Saturday that's coming, let me be clear, we're having the seed exchange. The seed exchange is just when we open up the farm, 10 o'clock, we open the doors, come on in, park your car, hang around. We'll have a campfire going. We'll have a pot of coffee going. We'll have food. We'll have this. We'll have that. We'll set up tables where you can do all your seed swapping on. If you've got something to bring and you want to trade it, or you got some equipment that you don't want anymore, you just want to give it away. But mostly you're going to want to mingle and meet these people because some of them live by you and you don't know it yet. And the things that we are needing right now, the things that we are needing as a people who would like to provide for our families via the homestead is community. We need community. We need other people doing it. I mean, you can do it all, but it's much, a lot of people aren't that skilled yet. I mean, if you've trained as an accountant, well, that's good, but can you screw in a light bulb? Can you fix a flat on your bicycle? If you pull the cord off a power washer, can you fix that? Right? That happened here today. I was on the phone with Joe Higgins, and I'm watching my two boys trying to get the power washer going. And of course, they're pulling it out and pulling it all the way to the end every time. So bad that it was jerking the machine around. And I'm watching them on the phone, listening to Joe drone on and on. And then finally, yeah, boom, they pulled the cord out. By the way, we're going to have Joe Higgins on. It's too bad. I could have had him tonight. I could have got him on tonight. But this is the homestead herdsman. He has hooked up a lot of people with milk cows. He's a cow guy through and through. I saw him with his shirt off one time. Yeah, he's spotty like a Holstein. He's part cow, and he just loves to go to auctions and buy milk cows and then keep them at his place and get them bred and get them up to speed, and always looking at milking equipment. And he's just knows cattle really well. I mean, it's almost ghostly. He doesn't even have to see them, but he kind of knows what's going on, right? There was an incident where our cow Cece had a calf, and there was another calf out there that was dead, and I thought she had two. And I put a picture of Cece. I mean, she was only a couple hours old on Facebook, right? Because it was kind of a monumental thing. This calf was almost frozen to death. And I said, she's a twin. And he said, no, that's not a twin. Just from the picture, you could tell that's not a twin. So anyway, we're going to have him on, and I'll let you guys know when he's going to be on. So there's quite a few people that are in the tribe that are pursuing the family milk cow. Something else that I thought of today that I really have to come at you with this because I don't know if people are watching as closely as I am or see what I'm seeing. We have always been preppers, right? Survivalists, all that stuff. I was a Boy Scout, and I was in the service for 20 years. And, you have to prepare. You can't just show up someplace. Oh, is this the uniform that I wear today? You have to prepare. And so we do prepare all the time for the things that are coming, whether it's weather, social unrest, you name it. The coming seasons, global warming, all that stuff. So I don't believe in global warming. I think it's fake. And so, yeah, we're preppers. And I don't lean heavily on what a lot of preppers lean on, like they're really into guns, as if prepping is if they're prepping for a war. I don't I don't see that. And I I don't see the wisdom in all of that. Like, what are you going to take other people's food because you got guns, or are you going to protect yourself because you have guns? Okay, but I secure a weapon, call it good. Um, we as military folks, we don't spend that much time with weapons. Believe it or not. You've got your weapon, you're qualified on it, you know how to do everything there is to it. You can fire it out to a certain distance. Good enough. You're not pulling them out every day and polishing them and stockpiling ammo and all that stuff. Some guys are crazy with the amount of ammo that they have. I couldn't even tell you what you would want. For me, I'm a deer rifle type guy, and I think if I have, well, I actually did this. I bought a rifle for deer hunting. I can shoot it a great distance. And then I bought match ammo. I bought a lot number of ammo. So every round in that is going to be it's going to be very close to the same. And I bought 1,000 rounds. And this is years ago I did this. And I've kept that ammo in ammo cans with a desiccant bag in there. And if I am going to hunt, I'll take 10 of them out. And that's my ammo for hunting, And when I switch, I'm not switching ammo. I'm using the same ammo all the time. And then the gun is zeroed with that ammo, and I'm going to be good to go with that. That's how you do it. That's how that's done. So, my focus as far as prepping goes is more on food production, because that's what I saw in other countries, is the lack of food. If you have food, you're in the driver's seat. If you do not have food, you're standing in lines, right? But it occurred to me today, we've got this tribe, and it's 3,000 people. What if we just have a bunch of people who join the tribe and become dependent? They're just dependent, and they're not moving forward. They are not dependable. We're not able to depend on them. So I got to thinking, it motivated me, like, what have I learned new lately? What have I learned that's new? And I kind of went through my list, and there wasn't much that was new. It's sort of like I'm grinding in on the things that I do and fortifying the position that I have, And I don't mean like putting sandbags out in front of the house and all that. That's a waste of time. I mean making things that are here better than they were. This room. Last year, when I was sitting at this desk, it used to be just a card table, but Joe built this desk. Joe put these lights up. Joe got this, or Jill got this. We mounted it on the wall. We painted this wall. Joe did. I'm now on a floor that's an insulated floor that we built this winter, right? So now it's warm in here. It's insulated. We insulated the roof finally, so it's actually nice in here. So that's what I'm working on. I'm just fortifying the positions of the things that I have. Our new butcher shop, we built that. It's not complete, but it's better than it was this time last week. Why? Because Matt put a window in on Saturday. Did a nice job. Put a great big window in on the west wall, so it brings a lot of light in. It's not finished, but we're using it. We're still pressing forward, making money with it. We're going to use it this Saturday because it's supposed to be a raunchy day and people will have to get in out of the weather, possibly. So I'm sure people will congregate in there, or I don't know. We'll see. So I really haven't been learning much as far as new things, um, but I almost feel as though we really need a component here of like training. You know, I mean, formal training. Well, this is odd, but the guy that we were supposed to be interviewing just showed up. So why don't we do this? I've got his bio here, and we'll put him on. Okay, good enough. All right. All right. Bruce.
Mark.
we brought you in. All right.
My sincere apologies.
No worries, man. No worries.
I got a bunch of lame
make
excuses that I can give you, but you know.
We don't want to hear them anyway.
Yeah.
People in the listening audience, just pick your best excuse and just assign that to Bruce. But he's here now, so let's just press on from here. So I have your bio here, and it's pretty impressive. And I just thought maybe we're a half hour in, but that's cool. We can go a little bit longer. If you would tell us who you are, tell us where you're from, and what's going on on your operation now, and then we can slide right into Biochar and where you picked that up and what you've been doing with it. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Bruce.
First of all, my apologies and my thanks for letting me. I wasn't sure. This is only the second interview I've done. I didn't know I was going to be. I didn't know whether I'd be able to get on with you or not. But I rushed home, and like I say, I got a bunch of excuses. But we live here just north of Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And so I've been farming all my life, ranching and farming, and mostly in Colorado, and then in Texas, and then we came here in '92. So we've been here on this particular place. We've only been here about 15 years, but we've been just on the edge of Nashville before that. So,
okay,
and this place has got kind of everything that you'd want when you move to the country. Fruit trees were already here. There was a pond, pretty good size. We redug it, and barns and a spring, and so that's and a nice brick house. This was the old farmhouse. They've sold off most of what was around here and moved away, but so we got the old farmhouse. And you're looking at this is my leather shop that I got here on the place. This is in the basement of the house. So,
okay.
But yeah, I been ranching and farming one place or another. We got stuck in town a few times, but managed to get out each time. So that's good. But so we've been in a few big cities, but I doubt if we'll ever move back now.
Yeah.
And I don't know what people like to hear. I do better answering questions, I guess, than just talking about myself. So I'm 69 years old, and so I've been around a few different places and done a few different things, and not sure whatever.
So how long have you been doing biochar?
Biochar is pretty new for me. We've been putting it out in the pastures, and then just covering it and broadcasting it, and then covering it with manure and letting it sit over the winter. But I started producing it in earnest probably 8 months ago, because I need to redo my pastures, and I need more.
Yeah.
We don't have any grazing stock now. We've always had horses. Horses were the biggest thing that we've had here. We had some cattle at times too, but so my pastures need help, and I wanted to get enough biochar built and made to at least do part of. We've had one area that's been pretty well overgrazed. I say overgrazed. It's been grazed too much by these horses, and so that's about a 3 or 4 acre deal. I want to get that renewed, reseeded, and in that process, I want to put some charcoal in the ground as I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I built a few different types of retorts and a few different type of kilns. My favorite is just a half barrel. That's that's the simplest, easiest for me. I mean, you could dig a hole in the ground and do just as well, but I like to be able to when I after the burn, I like to quench that, and I like it to sit in that water. I quench mine with pond water.
Yeah.
And I've had catfish and bluegill in this pond for 10 years. And then whatever leaves, I've got some huge big oak trees around it. So we've got lots of decaying matter, and there's lots of microbes already in that pond water. So I like for it to sit in that pond water for several weeks if I have time.
Okay.
And then, get it out and crush it, put it in my compost piles.
Yeah. So could you give a brief explanation of what biochar is for our listeners that are hearing it for the first time, and why it attracted you?
I started thinking about the science of it. Science has gotten kind of a bad rap here lately on a couple of different levels, but there is good science.
Yeah.
So, and everybody probably knows what I'm talking about. There is some real good science, and the charcoal is real easy to make. I mean, it's about as easy as lighting a match, and we've got a lot of huge big oak trees here, and of course they make a lot of sticks. Well,
yeah,
at one time sticks were a problem, but sticks aren't a problem anymore. Sticks are charcoal, and so
right.
I used lots of different types of things. Different kilns work different ways. If you lay your barrels down long ways, you can put a longer stick in. I use construction material, dimensional lumber, 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s. As long as it's not treated, it's pine, but it'll still make charcoal.
Sure.
Recently, I've gotten another source for ash, and it's kiln dried. And these people make professional baseball bats, and they have cutoffs anywhere, any, and some of big pieces. And I made a batch last weekend out of that, and that makes really nice charcoal. So then I take that charcoal, and it's got to be charged, or it's got to be inoculated.
Yeah.
And so the way I do it, there's lots of different ways you can put that in your chicken pen and let the chickens inoculate it a little bit before you put it in your compost. You put it in your pasture, put it in your feed lot. We have stall horses at another farm just down the way here, and we can put it in that stall. And then when we strip the stalls, it's already started, that inoculation process. So that works pretty good. And that's real passive. You don't have to work too much at it. They stomp it into small pieces, And of course, the urine and the manure are right there with the chips or whatever we happen to use it at. Sometimes straw, sometimes pine shavings. Just depends
Yep.
on what's kind of going on. So so that's a real good passive way, and it doesn't take any work. I do like to crush it, and I do that by hand right now. I'm in the process of getting a better way to crush it, and those are going to be some mills from a feed mill. Actually, I've got some rollers for from a feed mill, and I'm gonna be able to crush this a little bit. This ash that I'm using now is a lot harder, as you can imagine, than the pine was. Pine pretty easy to mash up. Just I was using a big steel rod and just leaving it in the barrel. But so it needs to be inoculated. You can do that. I think the best way to do it is just to put it in your compost. Leave it in there a month or so.
Yeah.
That's the way I like to do it. I've got 2 probably 10-yard piles going right now of manure, charcoal, and wood chips. Manure, charcoal, wood chips in a pile, and it's heating up pretty good. They're clearing a lot of trees around this area right now, so there's lots of material. So they'll bring it to you for nothing. So
That's nice.
I like for nothing.
Yeah, I like that too. It smells so good. Makes the farm smell good.
Yeah, and it's all different kinds of trees. You got pines and cedars and hardwoods.
Yeah.
So it works out pretty good. I like that free material. I would never buy any material it's just too much. In Tennessee, there's just too many trees that need to be something done with us. So
yeah.
So then just
we had a fellow on last week that we interviewed. Nick Ferguson is his name. He's going to be coming out here to speak on Tribe Day, and he was talking to us about. Did you happen to catch that show last Thursday by any chance?
No.
You didn't? Well, he was talking to us about tree fodder, and I never heard of that before. I've been in this business for a long time now, and I never heard of it. But apparently, a lot of trees, the ends, like from all the way at the end to maybe back to where the branch is about an inch in diameter, you can clip those and run it through a chipper shredder, and a lot of animals will eat that. And I tried it last year. I don't have a chipper shredder, so I just whacked it up with a machete and I threw it to the pigs. Oh, they chowed down on it. They really like that.
What type of
I'm
tree
starting
was
to
it?
see. Huh?
What type of tree was it?
Well, he had a couple that he was really hyped up about. He liked the white mulberry, the willow,
Okay.
and poplar. So he was talking about a poplar hybrid, and I don't know. I want to talk to him more about it when I see him this summer. But we've got poplar in Michigan that it's like weeds. It comes up along the ditch rows. It's everywhere. And
nice.
You can spend a lot of time doing away with it by just clipping them off, but they'll come back. They sucker, and they come back.
Okay.
But if I was to look at it as a feed source, I'd have a completely different feeling about it. Just
right.
Like,
yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Is that the tulip poplar, or is that a different variety of poplar?
Well, the ones that I have here, I have no idea what kind of variety they are. I really don't know.
We have poplar here, but they make they're a soft hardwood, and they a beautiful board.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make lumber out of them. So.
Yeah, we don't see people cutting them here in Michigan for lumber because we have so many other good trees, better trees than that. But
Right.
my property is covered with them. We've got them everywhere.
Wow.
And I'm looking at a chipper shredder. I'm, trying to figure out if I want to get a PTO or just a gasoline engine type one.
And what's the value of it? Is it more of a fiber source, or is there
No, feed. It's feed. Feed for cattle and pigs and chickens, and he says he feeds it to rabbits. Like he will put it in barrels so it will ferment. Like he's not
ferment?
feeding
Yeah,
much
that makes
livestock. But
it probably
just same as you do silage and haylage, all that stuff, it would be the same. And the fermentation process would break it down. But
break
I'm
it down.
starting to
Right.
see, like, connect the dots between biochar and tree foddering systems. Just think, like, I have hay fields and they're pretty big, and the cows will go out there and they'll eat after I've taken my second cutting, but they don't want to lay around out there because it's hot. But just think if I had a row of trees right down the middle that I had planted so that I could harvest off those trees to feed the cattle.
Right.
I mean, that would be a pretty neat setup, I think.
Well, you could also add that charcoal to that fodder, and while it's fermenting, and it would really be good for your cattle as well. Cows will eat that.
Yeah.
Cows will eat it. Chickens will eat it. Hogs will eat it.
Oh yeah.
I've not seen our horses eating it, but that doesn't mean that they don't. But all the rest of that will. And if it passes through inoculated, then you already got a good start on that.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We give it to our milk cows only because we're giving them a little bit of grain every day just to entice them in to be milked, like a half a scoop. And I can put biochar in there and they'll just wolf it down. They won't, they don't pick through it. They just eat it. The pigs, I can give them a bucket of biochar and they'll just devour it. It's it's kind of odd, actually, to see them crunching that up.
Now, what about rabbits? Rabbits eat it? I don't have rabbits, so I
don't know.
If they chew around on it, or
I don't know. I haven't tried that. I haven't tried it.
I don't think it'd hurt anything.
No.
I'm going to put it this summer. We usually I have an aerator in my pond, and I've already got a shovel full sitting down right on the edge of the pond because I want to see how it would act and react. But I'm gonna put some in my pond around the edge and just broadcast it, because I'm going to clean that pond out in fall, and I want to have some charcoal already in there. And it may help with the algae bloom. I don't know. It's kind of be an experiment for me. So we'll see how.
You never know what you might discover.
I don't think it can hurt.
No, I don't think it could hurt anything. It would be a neat thing to do. Let's say if you wanted to pump the water out of that pond and run it through, like, let's say you took a plastic barrel and filled it with biochar, and then pumped the water into that and filtered it and see how well it would filter it, and then that water would be nicely inoculated with bio. Yeah.
Well, I got tired of bringing buckets, so I took my front end loader this past weekend. I just scooped down in there and got almost a full scoop of pond water. I really didn't mean to get the pollywogs and all that in there, but so I had to sacrifice a few. But on a half a barrel, I filled it half barrel completely up, and today it's 6 to 8 inches down, and that's how much that charcoal has absorbed so far. In 4 days, it's absorbed in that barrel 6 inches of that water. So
yeah,
that's pretty good pretty good proof that it's going to hold. Charcoal does hold water. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Have you ever got any of your charcoal like left out under an eave or something, and then you try to dry it so you can grind it?
No.
I've done that, and it holds the water for a real long time. It just doesn't want to dry out.
Yeah. I know it's easier to crush when it's dry than it is when it's wet.
Yep. Yeah, I
Especially
got an old 1928 case hammer mill, and
nice.
it was a belt drive. I used to drive it with a belt when I was grinding feed with it. I don't grind feed anymore. But I adapted it up so I can run it off PTO on my other tractor. And
that's perfect.
it has an air pump on the side, but that would make so much dust. So we disabled the air pump. Actually, there's a pan on the bottom of it. We just took that out, and it'll take that biochar just as quick as we can shovel it in. And then we just have a jet sled underneath, and it comes out nicely ground up, and we bag it up, and it goes from there. Real nice. So we'll even wet it down before we grind it up now.
What size pieces? What size pieces do you get?
They'll come out a little smaller than a pea.
Oh, that's perfect.
Little smaller than a pea.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and some of them real small,
Right.
And
yeah.
What we do a lot of pasture poultry here, right? So here's a good story about pastured poultry and biochar. This because I got started doing this like a long time ago. The first time I found out anything about it, I read about it in Mother Earth News. That was way back when you could read Mother Earth News without, being called a racist or whatever.
Yeah, without
and I read about it, and I actually burned the garden. So I was putting charcoal into the soil after before we started. And then a guy came and he said, "Hey, do you want to do work on this project?" And I said, "Yeah." He was, an educated guy, and he couldn't screw in a light bulb, so I was doing the work. And a guy came out here from New England Biochar. Don't remember his name now. His name was Bob, and he did consulting with us and told us all about biochar. And I was hooked. I thought it was a really good idea. So anyway, I started making it. I had a 50-gallon barrel with a 30-gallon barrel on the inside, a 50-30 retort, which we have plans on our website for if anybody wants to know how to do it.
That's a great way.
Yeah, I still have one. It's not my main retort, but I made some one night, and we were down by our ClearSpan building, and I had two groups of chickens in there that were getting ready to go out on the field. And we had problems for years with this thing called coccidia. It's a protozoa that starts to eat the chicken if it doesn't have enough bacteria to eat in their guts. So I chucked a piece in with the chickens, and they ran around with it. But this time it was a little different. There was an urgency, like they were really into it, and then they ate it. So we chucked another piece in, and another, and they all got as much as they wanted of biochar. And for some reason, it was just like, it felt right to do. Several weeks later, when we were moving them out to the field, my son said, "Hey, are these two different groups?" I said, "No." He says, "These ones are way bigger." And they were the ones that had gotten the biochar. And I didn't even realize it for quite a while.
Nice.
Until we started to notice that the smaller ones had bloody stools. So it was the onset of coccidiosis.
Right.
And the other ones did not. But their manure was black. It was coming out black.
Huh.
So
that's
from
great.
then on,
that's a great find.
Well, the great part of the story is when I started this farm, I was coming out of the military, so I had good credit, and I must have combed my hair the right way. But the university said, like, they wanted to make me their golden boy. And so they were coming up here all the time with students, and we would talk about lofty things. And I was feeling like really important because I had the numbers of doctors, PhDs,
Yeah.
like, and I could
Well, that's
call
pretty cool.
them anytime. And they said, call me by my first name and stuff. And when we figured out that this biochar was having an extreme effect on the coccidiosis problem that we were having very badly. I mean, we had chickens die, lots of chickens die from it.
Yeah. It doesn't take
And
long.
no, we were giving them Corid in a dripper in their directly into their water, and we were supposed to be holding that Corid for 2 weeks before we processed them, and they would get it back in those 2 weeks
In the 2
while
weeks.
we
Wow.
took it away. So it was a losing battle. But then we started with the biochar in them. It straightened them right out. I mean, it was like night and day. They just did not have the problem anymore. So I called up the university, and I thought they were going to be great. I thought they were going to be so happy to hear the research that I'd done and all this stuff. And the guy treated me like I was a redheaded stepchild, and he's like, I mean,
Huh.
at other times he'd say to me, "Hey, you call me if there's a problem. You call me. You call me." And then when I called him to tell him I had good news, he was like, "Yeah, well, make sure you got a backup plan. Have plenty of Corid on hand." And I never heard from him again.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wasn't, I'd been in the military for 20 years, so I didn't really understand how things worked on the outside. I did not understand that they benefit from our chickens being sick because they are able to sell Corid,
Yeah.
which the last time we checked, it was like over $100 a bottle.
Wow.
And the PhDs from the university, they're recommending that you buy this product. And biochar, it doesn't cost much to produce, and
Right.
it's totally effective for. I mean, that's the biggest thing on my farm is the total effectiveness of biochar when it comes to coccidiosis in chickens.
Well, that's very interesting. I sure didn't know that. And it's
Mhm.
the difference between chemistry and biology. There's a lot of
Yeah,
farmers want to farm that way too.
yeah,
I saw one question here. It was asked, burn to ash or not quite, and you don't want to turn that. There is some benefits to ash, but no, you want to as soon as that material starts turning ashen, you want to put some more fuel on it. If you're in an open burn like I do, uh,
yeah,
most of the time. So yeah, you're going to get a little ash, don't you think? No matter what, but
sure,
you can't help that. But when I when I do
sure,
my burns, I try to get whatever I'm using completely covered with coals, and I start with smaller material and I work my way up. In the middle of the burn, I'm in the biggest material, and then when I'm getting ready to quit, I'm back down to smaller material, so that material will turn to charcoal about the same time providing the
yeah,
flame for my larger material. So yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, that's a
Now,
that's a great that's a great story.
oh yeah, and you can see it. We have cold winters, so uh, if you go out to the field now, mostly everything is starting to green up, but where the chicken tractors were run, it's bright green, and I don't think it ever went brown. It always stays going. So the
Even under the
fertility
snow.
boost that you get from it is huge. And I think what people are used to is when they buy like Miracle Grow, they see an immediate boost from it.
Right.
But I don't think Miracle Grow is actually benefiting their soil long term. I think it's just a foliar,
No,
kick
no,
that you know,
it's just it 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 really it tricks the plants into taking up what that whatever's in that the NPK or whatever's in that liquid, but it doesn't have
Yeah.
any biological symbiosis through the bacteria and the microbes and everything that really lasts. And that's the great thing about
Right.
biochar is it basically gives those microbes a place to live. You know,
Yeah.
they we kind of, and I don't mean to make fun of there's a homeless problem in our cities, but
Yeah.
we've got a homeless problem in our in our rural areas because we don't have a place for our microbes to live. In a lot of
Yeah.
farms, there's not enough place for a microbe. They've been homeless on those big farms for years, but
Oh
that's
yeah.
what I try to
Oh
do.
yeah.
I try to make a place for them to live, a place for them to store nutrients so they've got something to eat. And if you can give them that, and it lasts a long time. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
who knows how long it lasts? I mean, people say thousands of years, and but it's going to last as long as I'm going to last.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me. And I can't save the world with biochar, not even trying to. I'm not sure the world needs saving, but I can improve my little spot. That's what I'm trying to do. And if I can talk to some other people about it and they can save their little spot, then that helps.
Yeah.
That helps.
So
But
somebody here has said, this is Geo says charcoal is good for people too. Didn't you
it is
know? Yep. Yeah, we should be
absolutely.
putting it in capsules and down it, or just popping it in your mouth and chew it up and swallow it.
Well, they keep it in emergency rooms.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things they keep, that activated charcoal, and I think they've saved a lot of lives by giving people that charcoal and absorbing some of that junk they put in their system.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I agree.
it's pretty gritty, if you just take a bite of it out of the kiln. But I've seen a few people do it.
Oh, I've done it. It's amazing stuff. Like we'll put it in a basket and leave it on the table, and people will pick it up and they'll put it close to their face and smell it and even taste it sometimes. And I've put other things in a basket like that, and people don't even touch it. There's something about biochar that it sort of draws people to. I feed it to the pigs, right? And the pigs keep the pasture turned up all the time. And before we started doing biochar, giving biochar to the pigs, where they kept it turned up all the time, a lot of the humus would just get rinsed out. But now that doesn't happen; it stays. So they can keep it turned up, but then when we get a rain, it won't wash everything out of the soil.
Right.
So it's a great soil builder.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little bit light. If you just throw it out there, it can get washed away. But
Mhm.
once it gets down in the soil and gets some moisture and some nutrients in it, it stays around for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So could you talk to people about the open burn method of making biochar? It sounds like that's your main
Sure.
way.
Yeah, to me, I'm a welder, so I make some of the other types of retorts, and I've got a few that I've got designed that for just specifically for different types of material. But if you cut a 55-gallon drum in half, or 50-gallon drum, whatever they are, just cut it in half. And one of the things that I do with them is I've noticed that flame wants to come back to the middle. And so what I've done is I cut all mine with a skill saw with a metal blade, and I just use the little ribs on the side, and I've run my gauge on it. It makes a nice clean cut.
Okay.
Probably not OSHA approved, but so you got to kind of clean it up a little bit. Then I make cuts every 6 inches all the way around that barrel. and I bend it in. So when you look at the side of the barrel, it's got a little lip like this. You lose a little bit of your space, but what that does is that makes that when that flame wants to come up around that edge, instead of going straight up, it helps it curl back in. And so that's something that I do with mine that I think is real beneficial, because that flame cap is what you want on the top of that material.
Okay.
And that's what is burning all the gases that are coming off of the lower level. When that syngas and whatever's not charcoal, some of it's water, some of it's just a different. It kind of depends on the material you're using, how much you get. Pine has a lot of tars in it, and those tars, some of that smoke will burn. But if you can keep that flame cap pretty well even all the way around. When I throw new material in, I try to put it in kind of even. I don't like to stack it tight. It needs a little space in there. So I try to kind of make it even all the way around. So as I'm coming up and I'm filling that barrel with charcoal, and as it comes up, it's even, one side's not, and that helps that flame cap to stay pretty even. So you're burning whatever can be burned, whatever gases are coming off that wood can be burned, and it's pretty clean. It will smoke a little bit when you put that new material on, but not much.
Yeah.
And it needs to be dry. If you're gonna,
got to be dry, right?
it's got to be dry. And this ash that I'm using it's as good as it comes, because they're making bats for professional Major League Baseball guys. So it's premium, and of course it's just waste for them. And so, but whatever you use needs to be dry. You can use material that's not particularly dry, but it just takes a lot longer. You got to have a lot hotter fire, and so then you just when it starts turning to ash, and it's a little bit of a learning curve, and it's kind of depends on your material. If you're just using sticks, you better have a big pile of sticks if you're going to try to fill up a half of a 55-gallon drum. And you have to tend it a little bit. You've got to break your sticks up, and it takes some work. I mean, it's not work to eat necessarily, but you got to get your sticks and put them in there, and then you got to come back. And so there's a lot of people don't like to tend something like that. I work here in my shop most days, especially on Saturday. So, I'm happy to get outside anyway. So I just walk out there every 30 minutes or so and put some more material on there. And by dinner, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I've got a half of a 55-gallon drum completely full and of charcoal. And so, but you can do it in anything.
I'm going to try that.
Yeah, it's real. It's real. You can do it in a hole in the ground. When I do demonstrations for when I talk about, I always do a demonstration, and I take a little alcohol burner, and I put it in a coffee can, and I put a little Altoids box, a little metal box. I poke a hole in it, and I'll put. Last time I did it, I put some bone in there. I put some wood in there. I put some cloth. I put some thread. Just anything that's organic. And in 40 minutes, I quenched that, and it was full of charcoal. 40 minutes, so.
We had a guy in the tribe, Haven. He used a a pressure cooker. He filled it up with wood, and then he put it on a campfire.
Yep.
And then out of the little place where the weight is, he
Right.
was able to light that, and the gas that was coming out, he was
Yeah.
actually able to burn it off.
That's the syngas, and it
Yeah,
it's a shame we waste it. I mean, there's lots of
I know.
other things that when you make charcoal, there's lots of things that you can capture
Yeah.
that are very effective. I see one question: what's the difference between charcoal and biochar? Charcoal, all biochar started out as charcoal, but it's not biochar till you get some nutrients in it and get it inoculated or charged with some means,
Yeah.
and use compost tea or I mean, there's dozens of different ways to, but it's
Yeah. Well, inoculation means you're filling it up, you're stacking the deck with it, and in
right.
theory, you could charge it with rat poison. You could charge it with uh,
Yeah,
you know, Miracle Grow if you wanted to, but the idea is to charge it with something that's going to support life. Hey, we had a retort that we made. It was, I think, the third one that we made, and the fellow from New England Biochar, his name was Peter Hirsch. I just remember his name. He had told us that you cannot scale up a 50-30. And I questioned him on that, and I said, why? And he said, well, people have tried, but it doesn't work. And I had the materials around here, and I did it anyway. I scaled it up. So I think we used a 300-gallon tank for the inner barrel, and then
oh,
the outer barrel was probably about a 600-gallon, but it was long. I had to cut it and then
right.
make a top and put lightning holes around the bottom, and um, we built a skirt that went around it that we could put insulation. What's that
Yeah,
insulation that we were using? What is it?
rock wool.
Well, I didn't use rock wool. I used I can't think of it right now, but
That helps.
um,
That saves a lot of money.
oh man, that helps. But it would get so hot that we could put anything in it and it would turn it into biochar. So my
Mm.
kids were helping me with it, and after a while they really had fun doing it, and so one day a neighbor ran over a beaver, and he did it on purpose. He's not a friend of mine anymore. He's kind of a mean guy. But he ran over a beaver and he brought it up and he said, "Hey man, I thought maybe your kids would want this." And back then we didn't eat beavers. We didn't know you could eat beavers. So the kids just biocharred it, and
Nice.
it worked. It worked. And
Did you
so they
find some of it?
did I what?
Was there anything in there that you could recognize?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
really?
You knew it was like,
Okay.
especially the tail.
Oh,
It
okay.
just dried out the
Yeah.
tail and turned it to carbon right away. There was
Nice.
still a little bit of meat that it didn't get to on the inside,
Right.
but the majority of it did. So they would biochar chickens. Oh, we have a butcher shop on the farm, so we have a bone pile.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, what are we going to do with these bones? But we biocharred them,
Yeah.
and they work really good.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Porterhouse and Teal? He's a
No,
you'll be interested. He's a super nice guy. His name's Eric, and
Eric.
he's done a lot of Porterhouse and Teal. You'll like him, and
Okay.
he does it 50-30, and he's done some pretty large bones, and it's they really came out good. I mean, he
Yeah.
just crushed him with his hands. I mean, they
Yeah.
were just totally charcoal. So yeah, I did a chicken, but I couldn't find it in my one of my 50s, half 50s, and I don't know where that thing went. I know he was in there somewhere, but
Yeah.
he was
Well, see, ours is different
burned
because we've
up.
got the inner retort, and we're just using the one that we have now. The inner retort is a 50-gallon barrel. And then the outer is a tank that a guy gave me, and I cut the top off. I put a hinge on it so it opens up, and it's really thick steel.
Oh,
And
nice.
then we put that refractory. That's the stuff we use. That
Refractory. Okay.
refractory wool on it, and we started harvesting the gas off.
Nice.
And I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it, though. I mean, we've just been burning it and just having fun with
Back
it,
it
but I want to save
back
it.
underneath. Back
Yeah.
underneath your fire. Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
that's great.
I want to
Yeah,
save that. I
that
want
is
to.
good use of it.
Well, I would think that you
Because
could.
you're feeding yourself then. You gotta
Yeah.
if you're burning that gas and it's heating your retort, then you're you got a cycle going there.
Yeah. This one's really good. This is the
That's
best
really
one I
cool.
ever built because you can light it and walk away. You don't
Oh
have
yeah.
to.
See, now that's a big benefit right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then as soon as the fuel gas is gone, it shuts down and it cools off. We come out in the morning, and then the 50-gallon barrel, we're cutting the bottom out of the barrel, but we don't cut it completely out. We leave about 2 inches all the way around,
Mm,
and then cut a piece of hog panel that'll fit in there, and then two rods that you cross. You have one going this way and one going 90 degrees to it to
right.
hold it in. So then we can take the whole thing and tip it up, chain it, and then
Oh
lower it down in with a front end loader.
yeah, because that's
And
you got some
it's
weight
neat
there.
because when that barrel, it burns out eventually. It'll burn out. Like after about 15 burns, it'll burn a hole in it. But then we can just throw it on the scrap pile and get another one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing about them. Yeah, that's a great
Really
idea.
cool.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes really nice, completely burned biochar every time. I haven't had a failure with it at all.
Yeah, and that's maybe one of the drawbacks on this open. You can get some half done sticks,
Yeah.
but I just throw them to the side and put them in the next one.
Sure.
How much wood do you think you use with that one when you have your initial startup fire? Wheelbarrow full or all through the whole process?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah. About a wheelbarrow full.
For the
We
whole
were pretty
whole barn?
careful. Yeah. Yep. Well,
Well, that's not bad.
what's in the inner retort is a lot more than a wheelbarrow. It's 50 gallons of fuel. And I got a mill up here, Amish mill, and they make what they call cants. They mill logs so that they can saw them and make pallets. I mean,
Right.
if you're Amish, what do? Oh, I make pallets. I make mini barns.
Yeah.
There's only a few things that they do.
Yeah.
But
And you get that.
I get that by the truckload, and we dry it out. I mean, a big truck. I've got a 10-yard dump, and we'll get that and then tarp it with a black silage cover, so it uses the solar to really dry that stuff out before we put it in the retort. And then I got some last fall, and it's tarp now, and we'll probably be making biochar with it by July.
That's
I
great.
got probably 5 barrels up there that are completely full that we made last fall, and we got to get that ground because we actually sell it in the store.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind me asking how much you get for it? Is it by the pound, sack, or?
We have a bag that's about this wide and about this high. It's a Ziploc bag. and we asked $20 for it. And nobody's ever
Okay.
batted an eye.
So that's a couple gallons at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it already crushed?
It's already crushed and inoculated.
Oh, and inoculated. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll sell it inoculated, and we'll also sell it just raw.
Raw.
But I don't think it stays raw. Actually, I think it draws in things from the air, so I think it does inoculate itself.
Especially if it's ever gets rained on, that nitrogen's coming out of the air as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
One of the I'm going to mention another guy that I want you to note, and I don't know his name. His channel is called Skill Cult. Skill like in skill saw, and then cult like in the occult. He's a Skill Cult, and I don't know his name, or I would tell you what it is. I'm not sure that he ever says it in any of his videos, but he did an extensive research and published the papers of many writers of different publications in the late 1800s here in America, and the use of charcoal and what they did with it and how they used it. And most of the time they were just broadcasting it and then covering it with manure. They called everything manure back. If they put it on the field, they called it manure back then.
Yeah.
He's got probably 20 pages of documentation of people writing in and telling mid to late 1800s here in America about how they would use that and how they just came upon it and the benefits that they noted, because there was piles of it. They were making, different. I don't even know exactly where it all came from, but when you said that, it made me think about a lot of time they would not do anything with it. It was a waste product. It was finely ground, and they would get literally wagon loads of it and just put it out by the ton.
Huh.
And it had already started to be inoculated, evidently, because sometimes they didn't do anything. They didn't spread any manure on the top of it, but it still had a tremendous benefit but they plow it in or disc it in, and then plant.
Yeah.
It was, they knew something about it back then here in America, for sure.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things like that if we just sit and think about them for long enough, we can kind of come up with some ideas. But I actually believe that from the reaction of that doctor from the university, they don't want any of that stuff out. They don't.
And that's, and I've thought about going to some of the feed stores in the area and the co-ops, and I'm not sure I'm not sure how they would receive that, because my feed store, they make big money on putting out those chemical fertilizers.
Oh yeah.
By truckloads and truckloads and truckloads. So I don't know. I haven't given up on it, but I'm skeptical about how it will be received.
Yeah.
But the charcoal will still, I think it will still absorb even a chemical fertilizer, and there will be some benefit from that. So, but my feed store guy, he'd never heard of biochar.
Yeah.
He'd never heard about it. So, and he's been in the feed business for 35 years, probably.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when I first started making it, we were buying chicken feed from the co-op right here in town. And I went down there and I went to the boss and I said, "Hey, can you guys grind this into my feed?" And he said, "Sure, we can do it." But then the guy over in the mill, the hourly guy, said, "No, I'm not doing that." And so I went back to the boss and I said, "Who runs this place anyway? You or him?" He says, "Well, it's his mill. He's afraid it's going to hurt the the grinding equipment is just dumb. So
It's
it doesn't matter. We just top dress it anyway for the
right.
chickens.
Yeah. Yeah. He probably didn't know what it was.
No, he didn't know what it
It's
was.
sure not as hard as a kernel of corn or barley. He grinding that all day long.
Well, I've had to wait in line there when a buddy of his brings in a bunch of cob corn, and they'll grind the whole thing cob and all to feed pigs. You know, it's got rocks in it and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
whatever. I don't
Yeah.
use those guys anymore.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, so we're about an hour in now, so I'm gonna turn you loose. I appreciate you
Okay. Well, I
taking the effort to come and meet with us.
well, I rushed home as quick as I could get here. And I apologize.
Don't worry about it.
And
Don't
I
worry about it.
very much appreciate you talking to me. And
Yeah.
I hope to meet you in person sometime. I've got some family up there out in Grand Rapids, so I I think there's a wedding I've got to come to up there, so I may try to swing by and figure out
There you go.
some way to meet you there.
That's
So
just
thank you very
about an
much.
hour and something away. Like maybe two.
Now
Maybe 2.
you're north of there, right?
Yes. North of
Okay.
Grand Rapids.
And
Yep.
there's supposed to be some place up there. Is it called the Upper
Peninsula.
Upper Peninsula?
Yeah.
Do I have that right?
The UP.
UP. Yeah, I've heard that term. I'm supposed to go to a cabin up there that they have too while we're there. So I don't know if that'll happen, but
Oh, that's a treat, Bruce. You'd really enjoy that. It's a different world up there. It is a different world.
Pretty.
You have to go across the bridge. There's a 5-mile bridge you go across. The Mighty Mac.
Wow.
Yeah, and when you're on the other side, it's like a different world.
Huh.
It's enjoyable. It's very rural. Very rural.
Is it like mountainous?
Is it what?
Is there mountains? Is it or not
no,
really?
No.
Just
it's about
timber?
like the rest of Michigan. It's rolling hills. It's not flat by any means.
Yeah.
It's heavily treed. Not a lot of farming goes on up there. Not like down here. There could be, but they're just, I don't know. They just don't. Like there's no cattle processing to speak of there. They're just missing a lot of things. It's a big vacation spot. But anyway, we'll close this up for tonight. Thank you for coming by. I'm going to just be talking to the tribe a little bit after I turn you out to pasture. So sayonara, my friend. I hope we meet sometime.
How do I get off of here and then hear you?
I'll do it. I'll turn you off, but you'll still be able to hear me.
I'd like to stay with you and hear what you have to say.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll see you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye. See that? Now it's just me. But I can see Bruce, but he's faded. He's just in black and white. So he's not really there. All right, well, that worked out pretty good. So we didn't have to reschedule him, and we got to talk biochar. Biochar is what I would call a force multiplier. If you're looking for something to do that is going to give you a boost and move your farming, your gardening, your homesteading game forward, biochar is it. The way I use it here primarily is I feed it to the animals because they will crunch it up. They will run it through their system. Their biology winds up becoming a part of the environment. And that's what you want, right? So kind of put it this way. If a pig manures out on the field and it's high noon, and it just drops down, some little turd just drops down on the ground and the sun's beating on it. The biology that's in there, all the little microorganisms, they're going to have a tough time surviving, especially if it dries completely out and the wind blows it away. But biochar, Bruce touched on this, it's a place for them to live. If you look at biochar under a microscope, It's got a vast like web of area, because it's like a honeycomb. It's not really shaped like a honeycomb, but it's very, very porous. And so there's a lot of surface area inside of a chunk of biochar. And that's a place where those little microorganisms can go and have more microorganisms. Bacteria reproduces at a tremendous rate if it's in an environment that is going to preserve its life and not kill it. So, like when we talk about liquid manure, the biology that's in there dies because it's too wet. You talk about just spreading manure on a field, just raw or wet manure. If you do that, you want to do it in the evening, so it can be sitting there all night long, and the biology can find its way down into the soil where it can hide from the extreme heat that's coming the next day, or the extreme cold, or the extreme uh, flooding. Like you definitely lose bacteria when it rains, definitely, because they cannot live underwater. They need air. So biochar really provides that. It's a supercharge, and I've had really good luck with it. The biggest thing on this farm is the coccidiosis. If you do pastured poultry, one of the worst things is when you start to see the bird's shape change. It starts to change, and then you see bloody manure. And at that point, if you don't get something in them, you're going to have problems. You're going to have dead birds. They just won't grow, and eventually they just die off because they cannot uptake any nutrient. So when we feed them biochar, and chickens, you don't have to be bashful about feeding them. You top dress their feed with it. So you just sprinkle it on top of their feed. They will eat the biochar first. Yes. Why? I do not know. I don't know, but they do. And where we're moving our chicken tractors every day, the manure that they're putting down, there's biochar in it because it's black, black and dark gray. And in a very short period of time, the grass comes up through that, and everything's fine. We've never killed the grass with the chicken manure that's kind of mellowed with biochar. And people have said, well, do you really need to feed that much biochar to the chickens as much as we feed them? And the answer is no, but I'm not doing this for their benefit only. I'm doing this for the benefit of that field. It's going to have a pronounced effect on that field for years to come. And once it happens, once you've gotten it done, there's no holding it back. It's not like you can get back in there and kill off that bacteria and protozoa and all those other things that are going to be coming through their system. And then when it hits the ground is really active too, because we use this field. We've gone over it in many times. I kind of wonder about the wisdom of that. It's just where that field is placed. It's just my tractors fit in there really good, and it's just nice. And we've got pigs, chickens, and now sheep, and they're all separated. And I have water running down both sides of the field, so it works out really good. But I think I might be not getting what I could be getting if I was running over my hay fields, more inclusively than I'm doing. But then if I get too far out away from the nerve center of the farm, then the dogs can't get out there, and then you have predation problems. So I might be not spreading the love as much as I could be, but if I get those chickens out there too far, then the dogs can't protect them at night. So I gotta kind of balance things out. Let's see if we got anything that I need to respond to here. I'll go all the way to the bottom. Okay, thumbs up, please, from Audubon Automotive. Excellent work tonight. Thank you. Geo, apparently it can be done with pine as well, but it gives some other type of medicine. I bet it smelled nice. Yeah, see, pine is not near as dense, so you're not going to have the cross-sectional area. There is, okay, so a piece of pine has a lot of things in it that a piece of oak doesn't have. And when we roast the wood, which is basically what you're doing, you're never, in my retort, it's never exposed to flame. So it's in an oxygen deprived environment, the inner retort, and there's just an extreme amount of heat hitting it and it roasts it. And the gases that are in the wood are released from the wood. And then they come out underneath and they create more flame, so more heat. I mean, that retort gets cherry red. It gets hot. And as soon as the gases are all out of the wood, it's just carbon. So if you make biochar with pine and you make biochar with bone, let's say, or let's just say oak, the oak is going to be way more dense, so it's going to have more cross-sectional area. But what you're looking at, this thing that you're holding in your hand, once it's been roasted off, it's just carbon, right? And the pine, it's just carbon. Like it's 99 and 44 100% carbon. And you can tell that because you break it. There is nothing in there. You smell it, you can't detect a thing. You taste it, you cannot taste it, right? So that's my understanding is that's what you want, because if there are distillates still in the wood, then the bacteria has to deal with those distillates. So it's like they're moving into apartment complexes and there's still stuff in there that they have to deal with. Some of the stuff might be okay for them to eat, some of it not, might be toxic to them. So it's the way it was explained to me, it was actually that guy Albert Bates, his book. And it may be, more science, but it's like it's a sterile environment that the bacteria can move right in. There's nothing in there. And when you burn, especially in a retort like mine, you can see the different gases coming off. And I don't remember exactly all of them, but I know you get a methane that comes off, and then a carbon monoxide that comes off, and they're all different colors. So it'll start up, it'll smoke a little bit, but once it gets rolling, I mean, it's burning hot. So those gases are being completely burned. And for a while, the tree huggers were really on board with biochar because they're saying, oh, because it sequesters the carbon into the soil for thousands of years. Whereas if a tree falls down in the forest and it rots, it's releasing greenhouse gas. I don't believe in global warming. It's a bunch of hooey. I heard a guy explaining why it is a bunch of hooey, but basically, banks in the United States never lose money. They always make money. So why are they making loans on properties that are at the beach? Why are they doing that? Because the tree or the global warming freaks, people are saying that the oceans are going to rise 10 feet. That means Florida's gone, right? And a lot of Europe is gone too. That's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It was supposed to happen, according to Al Gore. It was supposed to happen like 10 years ago. But anyway, I don't know if now the tree huggers are on board with biochar anymore. I just don't know. Okay. Inga, I just Googled ashwood medicine for arthritis. fever, gout, constipation, fluid retention. Huh. They'd get a charcoal and, okay. They would put ash wood in a metal barrel and put the top on tight with a copper pipe out of the top of the can. They'd make a fire around the barrel and would collect the black tar stuff. Yeah, that's called wood vinegar, actually. Our system doesn't do that. Our system is burning really hot and we lose everything. We don't get the vinegar out of it. The vinegar smells like creosote. It's gross. If your biochar smells like biochar, it wasn't hot enough. I mean, it's still going to work. Somebody asked me a short time ago, I don't have a retort and I have no way of making one. Can I just use lump charcoal from the store? Lump charcoal being not briquettes, right? You don't want to use briquettes because I don't know what they use to squish them together. I don't know if they use some sort of binding agent in there. But the lump charcoal, yeah, it's not going to be optimum, but it's better than nothing, right? And with lump charcoal, you're going to find pieces of wood still in there that weren't turned into charcoal. But it's better than nothing, right? I think. White Dog Farm, back straps, beaver back straps, delicious. You bet, man. We call it Flat Angus. My buddy Devin, he does a lot of trapping. The city of Traverse City hires him to trap out all these places that are in residential areas. So he goes in there and he traps them. He skins them out and butchers them. It's really good meat. Really good meat. Geo saying, yes, any charcoal will work. Also, the ash helps add mineral to the soil, so don't forget to use that too, especially good for acidic soils. Okay. I'm not sure about that though, because if we're running a retort that's burning hot enough to burn all the distillates out of the wood, and we're left with nothing but carbon, I don't know, is there going to be anything in there? You know, I'm kind of thinking no. When you come to Tribe Day here, I will do a burn and you all can see it, handle it yourself, and judge for yourselves. Yep, Brian's saying biochar makes a great aquaponics filter medium. Yeah, I bet. Yep. And you can crush it up and brush your teeth with it. The Biochar Solution by Alfred, I think it's Albert Bates. It's a good intro book. I agree with you. I don't know. Those scientist types, I'm a little put off by some of the things that they say, and I just don't take it all, as, oh, this is gospel fact. There in that book there was some information about the electrical charge of biochar and how that helped draw energy to the, and I don't know. I probably ought to read it again before I say anything. Albert might be a great guy. Probably is. Read up a bit and then read down. Sorry, was chatting with someone. Okay, I got it. Okay. We're at almost 2 hours, so I got to get going. I haven't eaten yet. Busy day here on the farm because we got seed savers on Saturday, so I got to make this place look like we actually are professional farmers. So that means cleaning up stuff. So that's what I've been doing. Okay, appreciate everybody coming by. Thanks a lot, Bruce, swinging in and chatting with us. And remember, anyone can farm, and now is the time, my friends, to put the pedal to the metal. So get out there and make it happen. See ya.